Hello and welcome back to the Plague Year episode recaps. We are now on episode 4. If you're new to the channel, we are watching the Plague Year. If you remember, America season 2020 abruptly went on hiatus a couple of months ago, just disappeared from the schedule, no explanation, and in its place, we got the Plague Year, season 1. And I'm not going to say everybody loves the show, but it certainly has taken off like wildfire. It seems I can't turn on the TV or go to the grocery store without somebody talking about the pandemic. So it's really taken hold of the culture here, and that's exciting. You'll see even I'm today wearing my pandemic hair. Of course, in the show, people can't get their hair done. There is a lockdown, so they can't go out, they can't do all these personal grooming things, and so everybody's got this big puffy hair, which is a fun little conceit, you know. Everybody's at home, locked down, but their hair is free. And that kind of got me thinking about identity. How are the characters transformed by the plague, right? The question when you get a traumatic event like that is, who am I? But also, who am I going to become in the face of this, right? And what that made me think of was Harry Potter arriving at Hogwarts, and specifically the episode of the Sorting Hat. If you remember, when newcomers arrive at Hogwarts, they all have to go under the Sorting Hat, which will then assign them one of 4 houses: Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin. And what we're finding with the Plague Year is that there are a lot of parallels. For one thing, same thing. Everybody's affected. Everybody isn't. They don't go to the plague, but the plague comes to them. And the question arises for everyone: who am I going to be in the face of this pandemic? Just as Harry Potter and all the other characters, who are they going to be? Are they going to be Gryffindor or Slytherin or all of that? So in a lot of ways, I think that the plague is the Sorting Hat of the show. And the parallels of the houses, I think, are also there. So think about Gryffindor, right? You've got Harry Potter's house. This is the house of the courageous people who run to danger, who will face it head on, whatever happens. So of course we're talking about our front lines here: the doctors, the nurses, all the delivery folks, everyone in the front lines. And if you have to find a spirit animal, then obviously you've got your America's Governor West, America's Governor East, Gretchen Whitmer, you name it. The governors who really stepped in when there was a lack of leadership, who faced the danger, faced the controversy, faced it all, and took charge. You've also got Ravenclaw, which is sometimes the lesser known of the Harry Potter houses, but this is where all the creative folks live. So we're finding in the show a lot of people are discovering that they're bakers or they're sewers. So everybody's making bread, sourdough bread, sewing masks for themselves, for the front lines. You've even got people who are starting podcasts or YouTube channels. Like some people are really kind of digging into their creativity. Now, Hufflepuff is all about inclusivity and love, baby. Nobody left behind. We're going to take care of everybody. There's this real kind of, we're doing this for each other. We're really in this as a community. And for the spirit animal for this house, without a doubt, you're looking at Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles. This is a man who, his hashtag at the end of every press conference is #LALove. He closes his press conferences in love and strength to Los Angeles. On some level, I'd like to think that Mayor Garcetti is maybe a little bit cooler than Hufflepuff, but maybe I just don't know how cool Hufflepuff really is. The last house, of course, is Slytherin. Generously, you would say Slytherin folks are the people who seize the moment, who take the opportunities as they arise. You might describe them as cunning or self-centered. And then you obviously have all the characters who are inconvenienced by the lockdown, who want access to everything now. And of course, their spirit animal is going to be the Bad King. It's all about how it's affecting them. They don't necessarily have at the forefront of their mind how other people might be affected. The fact that if they catch the disease, then they're putting healthcare workers at risk or putting their families at risk. One of the things that I think is important to understand about this house is that it really is about individualism. And I think we're going to see this is where the tension point with the other houses arise. Ultimately, fighting this as a community becomes an existential threat for the individualist. So, but before we jump into that, I want to kind of go over the houses. I don't want to give the impression that this is all predestined, right? Remember Harry Potter, when he goes under the Sorting Hat, he's terrified that he's going to be sent to Slytherin. And all he's thinking when he's under the hat is, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, not Slytherin. And then he hears a voice, and it's the voice of the hat. And the hat is saying, really? I think you'd be great in Slytherin, but if you want Gryffindor, knock yourself out. And he sets him off to Gryffindor. The theme here is that you have agency, even when you think you're just being assigned into a space. Part of the agency, I think, is captured in the notion of the mask, right? The masks only work if everybody wears the masks. It doesn't do anyone, any single person, any good to wear the mask unless everybody wears it. And so does your character choose to wear the mask. And the reason this becomes interesting is that, think about the masked hero. The hero wears a mask to hide their identity, right? To differentiate, and also on some level to differentiate them from the community at large. And so here it's the opposite, right? The mask is saying, I'm with you. I'm a hero with you. Or more to the point, I'm with you. I'm going to wear a mask because I'm going to protect you as much as I'm going to protect me. And so you have the community as masked hero. So the mask is not individuating the characters, it's unifying them. And it's not hiding their identity, it's revealing their heroism. So I think they've done something really interesting with the mask. And what's also happening is provocative from the perspective of American culture, right? Because if the hero is not an individual, if the hero is the group, then what happens to the idea of the individual? And what happens to the process of individuation, right? The myth of American exceptionalism is, I'm unique and therefore I will bring something special, which is fundamental to America's hegemony and kind of sense of self. But if the community now becomes the hero, then what happens to that myth? And what happens to the importance of individuation? And so what I think we're seeing is some of the non-mask wearers, the kind of the Slytherin kind of group, it's that they're not even fighting the same fight. They're not fighting the disease. They're fighting the loss of individuation. And so the big tension in the story now becomes, are we going to continue down this road, the America road of the myth of the individual doing it on their own, or is the community going to evolve into something more progressive? And so I think that really helps to understand why all of a sudden you've got an existential threat, right? For the people for whom it's not about life. It's about identity and individuation. When you've got kind of this dichotomy between I want to fight for this notion of who I am versus I'm going to fight for the health of my community. When you have two sides that aren't even fighting the same fight, then it's very unclear how things can play out. And if you've got your Slytherin that can't give up this individuation concept, and you have the other side that won't recognize that a people is both its living creatures and its identity, then there won't be a dialogue. And if there's no dialogue, then is there a rift so profound that the only outcome is civil war? So this is getting pretty heavy, the show. But I do think these are the stakes that we're seeing emerge. And the truth is we don't know where they're going to take the show because, as I've said before, this show can go any direction. But as soon as it does pick a direction, we will let you know about it here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up below. Thanks again, and see you soon.